Alright guys, we're just arriving back in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, hey. And I got a story to share with y'all. But Manitowoc, is this how people perceive Manitowocians, how they talk? Do I have an accent, guys? Seriously, do I have an accent? Like, you guys who are not from the Wisconsin area of Manitowoc, do you perceive us as having an accent? I'll get to my story, but it's just kind of weird, like when people try to like mimic us or impersonate someone from Wisconsin, they give this accent to us that we don't even have. Like, I don't think I have an accent. Like Lonnie down south in New Orleans, he's got an accent. Or somebody from Missouri, some people I know from Missouri, they have an accent. But here in Wisconsin, it's like we talk normal. Maybe it's just how we see ourselves, you know? Yeah, Manitowoc. You guys, I'll share this real quick. You know the Netflix show Making a Murderer. Unfortunately, that's what Manitowoc is a little bit known for. Making a Murderer is a really popular Netflix show. It's based on the true events of a murder that took place in the county here, and there's a whole story with that. It's a really popular show a couple years ago, and now season 2 just came out. But season 1, though, when that came out, it was all over the news, all over the late night television shows. I think it was like Jimmy Fallon or one of those shows. I don't watch late night television, but I saw it on YouTube anyway. But they're doing a skit of how Manitowoc people talk, and they gave us like this accent that we don't even have. By the way, I live right there in that duplex, right there on the left side. I know it's dark, but yeah, we'll just go for a drive as I share my story. We'll just drive through Manitowoc, eh? But yeah, so they had this little skit, and they gave like this totally outrageous, weird accent that Manitowoc people don't even have. But yeah, it's kind of crazy though, the whole Making a Murderer thing. Like, you know, it's very controversial. Like, oh, do you believe that Stephen Avery did it and Brendan Dassey? You know, or do you believe it's somebody else? Or, you know, who's innocent and all that stuff, where they framed. And it's kind of weird because, like, you know, I actually am best friends with Brad Dassey, who is Brendan Dassey's half-brother. Growing up, I've been best friends with Brad Dassey. So it's, you know, small world, but unfortunately those were the events that unfolded. But I'm not here to talk about that. I just want to talk about the whole, you know, impersonating people from Manitowoc with the supposed accent that's not even existent. But anyway, let's drive through Manitowoc in the dark. It's actually 1:30 right now in the morning. I'm just coming back. If you guys seen the previous video, which is probably going to be the previous video that I put up, the outreach, October 27th, Saturday night bar outreach, which was originally started out as Handle Gospel Tracts after a play, which turned out into kind of a mini bar outreach, and we talked to people. It's Halloween celebration down there. A lot of people are dressed up as all kinds of different things. Some of them very scantily clad, a lot of the women, but whatever. So we shared the gospel out there, me and Michael did, and then on my way back, I just got back in Manitowoc right now. I want to share this story. If you watch that video, though, I mentioned I actually drove past my very first apartment that I lived in when I moved out of home. I actually lived in the Appleton area, and again, Appleton is about an hour drive from Manitowoc. Lived there in the Appleton area for about 2 years before I moved back to my hometown of Manitowoc. But I drove past and I filmed just a quick, you know, a couple seconds of a shot there of my first apartment, and I teased it by saying I have a ghost story to share. You know, speaking of Halloween, I guess, why not? Now, as I share this, I want to make a couple of things very, very absolutely clear, and there is a point for me sharing this. I'll get to that, and I probably should have maybe waited on this video because I could share some appropriate scripture to the point, and I probably won't be able to think of it right now. But I just decided, you know what, I might as well just talk about it right now and get this video done and out of the way with, because I've been wanting to talk about it for a little while and just kind of share my story, even if it's just for sake of sharing a story, just because, you know, let's just make this a vlog and talk a little bit. But so, a ghost story. Okay, so back in 2007 in December, I moved to the Appleton area, actually right in Appleton. I was working 4 jobs. Alright, so I had my paper route job still in Manitowoc here. I was working at Pizza Pit in Manitowoc here, pizza delivery, one of my favorite jobs ever. And then in Appleton, I got a job at Papa John's Pizza Delivery, and I also worked full-time, so 3 part-time jobs and 1 full-time job. That full-time job was right next to Appleton and Middleshoot at Kraft, which they made pizza. So 3 pizza jobs and the paper route job. Anyway, a very high, stressful time. I moved there just to get out on my own for the first time ever, and I had met my future wife at that time, and I wanted to be closer to her and her family. No, we didn't live together, so don't worry about that. I just got a very small, tiny apartment for myself, and it's basically like a closet almost. Really cheap apartment, like $300 some a month. But anyway, so when I first moved in there was some weird things going bump in the night. It was kind of a creepy atmosphere. The neighbors, let me talk about the neighbors first. Now, the guy downstairs, he was basically a schizophrenic. The guy upstairs, right across from me, was hardcore into Catholicism. Now, you guys should know what I believe about Catholicism. I believe it's a false gospel, a different Jesus. Don't get involved with it. Those people need to be witnessed to. If you guys want me to explain more about that, I can. But anyway, and he always listened to like super pro Roman Catholicism stuff on his TV or radio. I almost ran over a bunny. I could hear it through his door. I don't know if it was radio or TV, but it was always like Catholic apologetics and things like that. And he's just a very weird character. Couldn't even talk to him. And then the other last person downstairs, never really talked to because they're basically in and out. People just, it's like a revolving door. But anyway, so things were very odd there. Now, you have to understand, this is back in 2007. I was always involved in evangelism, even way back then. I did a lot of stuff. I had a huge MySpace ministry, something I was like super happy about. Man, I wish I could go back to that day because that was such an awesome ministry to be a part of. Did a lot with that. If you guys don't know what MySpace is, well, then you're very young. It's kind of like what Facebook, or what existed before Facebook. So, and I did a bunch of other stuff. I was into evangelism, not to the extent as I am right now, but I was still just as passionate, make no mistake. And I was involved in different ministries. So, anyway, when I first moved there, it was very hard for me. This is spiritual warfare. That's what I wanted to make this video of the big point of, and the necessary scriptures that go with that. But spiritual warfare. So, and you guys might realize this, whenever you get involved in something, hold on, put my phone down for a second. Yeah, I shouldn't be driving with my phone out like that. There's a police officer right over there, so yeah. Anyway, so when you guys get involved in anything, promoting the gospel, there's always that roadblock. There's always that thing that seems to rise up, that spiritual warfare aspect of it, right? So it was no different back then. So whenever I would work on the study, because I used to have like a show online that I did through the MySpace. I had a couple separate pages. One of them was a teaching page, and I would post my lessons, and I was going through the book of Mark at the time, verse by verse. So whenever I would work on that, whenever I would go to prayer, whenever I would just have my own personal devotional time, reading the scriptures, whatever, I always felt something, okay? Something that always tried to hinder me. I couldn't explain it. It was really hard to get into scripture. It was really hard to pray to God. Oh, I wanted to mention this too before. A couple of things before I get into the story is that I'm in no way saying that I can definitively say that this was a ghost. Now, when I say ghost, I'm talking about a demonic presence. I'm not, I don't believe in ghosts as in a departed loved one whose spirit is just hanging around. I don't believe in that at all. I don't believe that's what the scriptures teach, so therefore I deny that. Now, I can go. Yeah, I get distracted. I keep forgetting that these flashing red lights, you can go. Yeah, I've only been driving for 18 years or whatever it's been. Anyway, so, and on top of that, I want to say that the story I'm going to share, I don't need to have experienced this, what happened to believe or not believe in certain things, okay? I'm just going to present this story as I experienced it. It's up to you to decide whether you believe it or not, whether there's a rational explanation for the things that happened, whatever. You know, I really don't care. Even if I find out that it was just my imagination maybe, or something else happened, then okay, then that's what it is. I also want to say, I'm not going to be ignorant of this, that there's no biblical backing for what I'm about to say. See, in the Bible, you don't see ghost stories, per se. You don't see these, like, disembodied spiritual beings that are floating around and shutting and opening doors and getting people scared. You don't see that stuff. You see possession, but that's different. You don't see, if you ever were in some kind of, like, or watching some kind of paranormal show, you know, code spots or sounds or whatever. You don't see that stuff in scripture. So I'm going to say that I fully acknowledge that. So I don't really have necessarily a whole lot of biblical backing for what I'm about to share. I'm just going to share my experience, all right? So I experienced those things, though, that pressure to not pray, to stop what you're doing. I mean, I could have done anything else under the sun. I could have been playing video games or watching movies all night, no problem. But as soon as you introduce any kind of spiritual Christian thing, praying, reading the word, any of those things, all of a sudden I felt, I don't know how to explain it, kind of like a fear, like, Kurt, you better stop doing this. I'll just go straight. So there's actually some nights I was so afraid to even be there. I mean, okay, I'm living on my own for the first time. That could probably explain it. But I don't know. I mean, I just couldn't do anything. I couldn't go. I would go to the Word of God. I couldn't pray. I'm just driving around aimlessly. So one night, actually, I drove from Appleton to Green Bay, then to Manitowoc, then back to Appleton. So that's like a big triangle, if you know the map of Wisconsin. I just couldn't sleep. I didn't want to be there. I felt actually really freaked out. And then there was a lot of weird things going on in the place where I lived at. A lot of weird sounds. I had the famous cold spots. I'd be walking around, and it was winter, sure. Maybe it was just a draft. I mean, I didn't have any reason to believe it was that. But there were the cold spots, especially when I felt, you know, I want to use that word loosely, I felt a presence. Here's my work, by the way. So, yeah, that one night I drove, I did a big triangle. I don't know how many miles that was. I didn't really get any sleep that night. I just couldn't be there. Couldn't be there by myself. And there's probably some other things. We had a demon-possessed toilet, by the way. It's kind of an inside joke between my wife and I. But I think it'll always get plugged up, and it was just really weird. So there's my work. Alright, so there's probably a couple of things I'm forgetting to mention. The people, though, like I said, extreme Roman Catholicism right next door to me, and then downstairs from me, the guy was like really schizo. And then I found out later on, I'm not going to get too much into this story because I don't want to like defame somebody or whatever, but somebody who's related to my wife's side of the family was like this really on fire Christian at one point, and then I found out that he ended up living at that same apartment, maybe not the same room number, but that same building, right? And ever since he lived there, things went downhill and got really weird. That's all I'll say about that. And it's kind of interesting too how God orchestrates things. But that pizza job, Papa John's, he actually works there, and I just happen to have the job there with him. Appleton's a big city, like 80,000 people, I think it is, or 70,000 or something like that. And you got Grand Chute and all those other places attached to it. Big area, lots of people, but small world. Anyway, so it's just kind of interesting how that worked out. My first apartment, my first job over there, and I connected with that guy. And anyway, so now things really culminated to a certain point on a certain date. So I moved there maybe early December 2007. I got really sick with mono, actually. That's kind of the beginning of my health troubles I've been having over the years. That's a different story though, but 2007, got sick with mono, probably working 4 jobs, didn't help, one of them full-time. So I'd actually work the Manitowoc jobs on the weekend. I would come here and then work the full-time job and the Papa John's job during the week when I was there. and I would spend the weekend at my mom and dad's house. So one day actually, I was feeling attacked, and that's the word I want to use. I always felt attacked being at that place. I just felt attacked. And even other people that would come there, like my friend Brad, speaking of Brad Dassey, Brendan Dassey's half brother, he came there and he's like, I just don't feel right about this place. There's something off about this. And that's what a lot of people would say when they would come there. I mean, who knows? Maybe it could have been anything. But it did culminate to a point. And again, I couldn't pray. Like, I was prevented from praying, reading the Word. I felt like if I go to those things, then something is going to appear and just scare the living daylights out of me. I just had this fear. Like, I can't go to those things. I felt attacked, legitimately attacked. I'm trying to work on this study that was evangelistic in nature, going through the book of Mark, and I felt attacked every single time I tried doing that there. But it culminated to a point where one day, I felt attacked again. I'm like, I have to get out of here. And this was during the daytime. This wasn't at night. This was probably like early or late morning, 11 o'clock in the morning or something. I felt attacked. I had to leave. Now, I actually had my stereo playing some Christian music. Actually, Q90 FM, I had the radio station on. And I probably had it on just to drown out the attack. And so I felt really attacked. I went to the front door, and I opened the door. I was ready to leave. I have to get out of here. The radio was still on. I kind of gave the room one last look. Like, my heart was pounding. Like, am I going to leave or am I going to stay here? What am I going to do? Then all of a sudden, on the stereo system, it was playing a worship song on the radio, right? I don't remember the worship song, but it was playing a worship song, and as soon as it said the name Jesus, not 1 nanosecond later, the power cut from the stereo. I froze. And eventually I worked up the courage to go and look at the stereo and examine what was going on. And I found out that the cord had been ripped out of the back, the power cord, ripped from the back of the stereo. And I froze, and I don't remember too much what happened next. I don't remember if I left right away. I think I left right away. I just kind of fled. I'm out of here. Okay, that's enough. I'm done. I'm out. But at some point, though, I did come back. And I kind of had like the attitude that Paul had when he was just being hassled by this demonically possessed, I think it was a girl or a woman, or was it a guy? I can't remember, but he just got fed up and he's like, I'm just going to cast this thing out. I think is what he did. If I'm getting my story right. But anyway, so I come back full of courage, and I was praying to God, and I just I can't let this thing take control. So I came back with the power that God supplied me, and I just rebuked the thing. I prayed to God and rebuked the thing to get out of there. And you know what? Instantly I had peace. No more did I have any problems living at that place. And that was probably like March of 2008, I think, roughly around that time. Now eventually we did move out, or I moved out of there. And I got an apartment with my friend Brad, again the same Brad person. We got this 3-bedroom apartment to share until I got married to Cassie, and then he would have to move out. And we got married in October of 2008. So, and then Brad stayed there till about September-ish. But anyway, so yeah, that's what happened with that. And there's that wasn't like the most descriptive part of it. Like, I've shared this on Facebook before, and I was a little bit more descriptive and probably went into more detail and things that happened. But that's kind of the gist of it. Now, again, I could something have happened to pull this thing out? I can't see anything else, but hey, I'm open to any rational explanation that's not supernatural in nature. So I just conclude that it was demonic. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but the thing is, though, you experience it, I'm sure, you who share the gospel. Every time when I go out to the Appleton bar outreach, or like most times anyway, or any other outreach, it's always that spiritual warfare. Something trying to hold us back. It might be something like a flat tire, or like one year I remember I was so passionate, so fired up to go to the Appleton bar outreach. Like, I'm going to do this thing and it's going to go awesome. And right before I leave, I go on this prayer bike ride, and I'm just so fired up, praying, thanking God. Then before I go to the bar outreach, I had to stop home, got into an argument with my wife, and it just destroyed the entire night. Destroyed the entire night. Like, I thought this was going to be the greatest outreach ever. Just the way I was feeling, I was all pumped up, and we had an argument over something stupid. I don't remember what it was, but it was something stupid. And then all the way there, it was just depression, basically. I mean, it was just bad. So, but you guys understand there's that spiritual warfare. So, enter Ephesians chapter 6. It's Ephesians chapter 6, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, see, this is why I wanted to have my Bible open while I was talking about this. So I'm home now. You guys can come in with me. I'll bring my stuff in later. But yeah, that's just what happened. I'm just presenting it as it happened. So hold on one second, I'm gonna open the door. Alright, so now we are inside. I gotta be a little quiet. Actually, you know what? Let's go downstairs into my messy basement. And I'm gonna show you that stereo. I know it's very messy down here. Don't judge. Actually, I don't care. You can judge me. We got lots of cleaning to do down here. And I just fell down because I slipped on a piece of, ow, that hurt. I slipped on, what's it called? Wax paper. Oh, it's my rock painting. I was doing some stuff and having it dry on there. Ow, that hurt. So this is my stereo. It was on the floor, okay? And here's the power cord where it was ripped from, so it was like that far away from it. It's on the floor. It couldn't like fall out or anything like that. Flat on the floor, so that's what happened. That's what happened. So, oh man, my knees are already in bad shape. So, yeah, Ephesians chapter 6. Let's just conclude by reading that. Ephesians 6. I know this is a longer video. Let's see. Oh, just starting in verse 10. So, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end, with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints, and for me, that utterance may be given to me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of God. I'm going to sidetrack just for a second. I love these two verses right here. It also reminds me of Colossians, the last chapter of Colossians, I think it was Colossians 4. But a reminder, pray for people who are out sharing the gospel. If Paul needed prayer, a little peon like me needs prayer, all right? I'm speaking especially to the people who are local if they so happen to watch this video. Colossians chapter 4, verse 3. Meanwhile, praying also for us, that God would open to us a door for the word to speak the mystery of Christ, for which I am also in chains. So that's just another example of how, even the Apostle Paul needed prayer. He's asking for prayer elsewhere as well. So do that. But yeah, so back to the point here. I'll just let God speak to you on that. I'm going to end this video actually right now because it's like super long. But let God speak, do the speaking to you on that, all right? Yeah, stand against the wiles of the devil. He's always trying to stop us from getting that gospel out there, and he certainly was with me back then. He certainly still tries to do things to thwart the gospel going out. But there you go, spiritual warfare, and keep your trust in God, and don't let him hassle you, the devil. All right? God bless you guys.